it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We had a very interesting question from a viewer, and that was how to declare boundaries. What exactly is a boundary when dealing with narcissistic or psychopathic individuals? I think that's a great question, so we're going to zoom in on that topic. Declaration of boundaries is the ability to be centered, be in your own shoes, and have a certain sort of standard for yourself with which you feel you deserve to be treated. So boundaries are a declaration really of your personal space. It's a self-protection. It's a self-preservation. It's saying that I am not going to be a doormat. I'm not going to be walked over. I'm not going to be yelled over. I'm not going to be physically abused. I'm not going to be sexually abused. I'm not going to be emotionally abused through slander, through scolding, through shaming, through being perpetually criticized, falsely accused. These are what basically is called a boundary creation. So a boundary is a declaration of really where your personal space is, what you will tolerate, and what you will not tolerate. So for example, the ability to say no. No, I am not going to over-obligate myself. No, I'm not going to perpetually live in a codependent way that is always about putting other people first to the sacrifice of myself. It's okay to have altruistic tendencies, or to be giving, loving, sharing, have a mission, be a mentor, to be able to put others first, to be able to volunteer. That's a wonderful thing. But when it comes to the point where perhaps you've been codependent and really sort of lost a sense of your own personal connection, value, and fulfillment and happiness in life, that so much of your life has been caught up in pleasing and taking care of others that you feel your needs no longer matter, you no longer matter, your voice no longer matters, your happiness no longer matters, then you've really, kind of become a victim. You're living in that victim mentality, that codependent mentality, which is not going to serve you. In fact, it's going to deplete you, and oftentimes it can be very crippling. So how to establish and create boundaries? Saying no. And just saying no, and more that your behavior is congruent with your attitudes. So if you are able to then verbalize, with a narcissistic individual that, you do not wish to participate, you do not wish to be engulfed, you do not wish to be enmeshed, you definitely don't want to start explaining and justifying yourself why you're saying no. You just say, no, I apologize. I can't do that right now. And you leave it at that. You don't go into a whole tirade of, I've done so much for you in the past, and now is this and this and that. And you're getting into this whole conflict consciousness. You want to avoid that at all costs, and more so take massive action where you're now becoming centered. You're now becoming grounded in your values, your interests, your self-esteem, your self-value, and then beginning to emerge and experience that more so than being a victim. And so when you do that, you're establishing boundaries. You're establishing a new blueprint. You're establishing a new locus of control, which is within yourself, versus being controlled by somebody else. Controlled by their selfish needs, their narcissistic needs, constantly serving as supply to them. So when you're able to make that switch, you're able to now declare boundaries. You're able now to live within certain limitations. In other words, if you're so used to taking care of others, you don't eat during the day, you're constantly running errands for them, you're constantly putting the kids first, you're constantly attending to their needs, and then you're depleting yourself. You're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're not taking time for yourself. You feel guilty for this. You feel obligated because other people are making you feel, essentially causing you to feel this way, that if you're not running yourself ragged for them, that you're not a good parent, you're not a good spouse. This is where you have to start drawing the line, creating boundaries, stop over obligating, stop, trying to use other means to satisfy other people's needs. In other words, overgiving, especially during the holidays or birthdays. We see people who feel that they have to give so much of themselves, so much of their money to these other people to make them happy, to satisfy their high standards, but yet it ends up ricocheting or catapulting them down into depression, where it's basically reaffirming that they're not a person of value. They're not, worthy of receiving. They're not worthy of living a balanced life. So really, when you declare boundaries, you're giving yourself permission to value yourself, to have time for yourself, to realize that it's okay to have needs, interests, wants, desires, and to work productively and positively to those without being told that you're inferior, less than, and being perpetuated in a role of an inferiority complex, which a narcissistic individual perhaps had established for you to serve their psychological, emotional, and physical needs. And so it is in the action, it is in the words, it is in the beliefs that you have for yourself that you can declare those boundaries and then live within that humility, that humbleness, that limitation of saying, I understand my limits here. I'm now protecting myself through declaring these limits and these boundaries, and it's really the best for me and all others involved. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.